Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge, and let's talk horror. Now, today I'm joined by the amazing Adam, aka Looovelorn, on Twitter. How you doing today, man?
Good, how are you?
I am doing very well. So ready to talk about this movie. But before we talk about why you're here, Adam, I would like for people that don't know you to get to know you a little bit. You and I connected through Twitter. You are a cinephile who's mainly obsessed with horror and all things art related. Um, over on Twitter, you guys can follow him. I have all his Twitter and all other social media links down in the description. How long have you been a horror fanatic?
Probably, for as long as I can remember. I remember my big sister was obsessed with horror, and it was one of those genres that really interested me because it can be so many different things at once: comical, uh, sad, poignant, fearful, of course, just everything under the sun. And she really just got me obsessed with the horror when I used to be scared of my own shadow, basically. So yeah, it was my big sister. My whole life since I was probably 10.
Right. And it's funny because it's usually an older sibling or a cousin down the street or the friend next door.
Yeah.
That's usually who gets us started in horror. Right now, as of recording, we are just starting off. We're 2 months into 2025. But what's been your favorite horror movie of the year so far?
This year, Presents.
Oh,
Pres-
okay.
Presents by Steven Soderbergh. Soderbergh. Yeah, that was definitely my favorite. That was like unlike anything I've ever seen in theaters. I know the shot from the perspective of the ghost is kind of gimmicky, but I really appreciated the entire story of it and how it isn't a typical like straight to gory slasher like type of film. I more so am interested in the psychological sides of things and when it comes to horror. So yeah, that was my favorite.
See, and I still haven't seen it yet, so I really got to check it out. I've heard great things, so very excited to see what it's actually all about. In order for Presence to be your favorite horror movie of 2025, horror had to start for you somewhere. So now,
Yeah.
Adam, I would like to go back to the past and talk
Mhm.
about what got you started in the horror genre, your first horror movie. And Adam, the first horror movie you watched was
Rosemary's Baby. The one that yeah, the one that most affected me and the kind of the one that got me started in the horror genre and being like a cinephile, if you want to call me that. But a Rosemary's Baby was the one that kind of rocked me the most, coming from a, as most people do, a slightly religious family, a decently religious family. It was kind of one of those films like The Omen and The Exorcist that was kind of like forbidden to me in a way. Um,
Mhm.
and that was the first one that kind of like rocked me.
And it's funny because watching this as a kid obviously is super heavy. Like this is a very, very heavy, heavy movie. And
Mhm.
even as you get older, it's still exceptionally scary. The
Yes.
idea of what happens throughout this movie. We know you were, like you said, fairly young, about 10 years old when you watched this for the first time with your sister. Um, do you remember which scene it was that affected you the most?
When she looked in the crib and first saw her baby, and I just remember so vividly, in the same way that I remember Sissy Spacek and Carrie's eyes popping out of her head on stage, and Mia Farrow's eyes just popping out of her head, like, and everyone around her revealing their intentions, screaming "Hail Satan." That was pretty jarring for me because they really gave no indication, including the husband, that they were up to something, or that they were trying to be duplicitous towards her. And I think that was just, it really, really affected me and her performance of that film. I think she was snubbed for an Oscar. Um,
Oh yeah.
I just think her performance, I don't know what kind of makeup they used on Mia Farrow when she was super sickly in those parts of the film, but it was just very effective to see a woman in so much peril, and to just everything that happens in the movie is horrifying to me, from beginning to end. But that mainly that scene where the coven reveals their intentions, and obviously the baby isn't shown, but it was just very horrifying to see her reaction.
Well, especially because in that moment you do get the flash of Satan. You
Hmm.
know, like
Yes.
it's almost like an exorcist style quick flash,
Yes.
and they're describing it, look at his feet,
Hmm.
Adrian, you know what I mean? And you're just like, and it goes to that old, show not tell. We don't have to see this. There's nothing that you're gonna show me in that crib that's any scarier than what I'm imagining right here.
Right.
Everything that I'm seeing right here is way scarier than anything that you could potentially show me in that crib. So, just last year in 2024, we did get the prequel to Rosemary's Baby, Apartment 7A. Did
Yes.
you get the chance to check that out? And if so, what were your thoughts on that?
Absolutely, I saw it. I was one of the people, like, championing this film. Like, I was so excited to, um to see it, and I like the actress that, is at the center of it. I think she's a great actress. I remember her in The Last Exorcist Part 2. She was, she was great in the film. I think people are much too hard on Apartment 7A because it comes from such a prolific and iconic film as Rosemary's Baby, so they're gonna be hard on it no matter
Yep.
what. But I personally, I thought it was an interesting take on it. They did take some, like, creative liberties that I didn't really appreciate. It leaned more into, like, Suspiria at times, but I liked it. I thought it was interesting. I liked the design of the Satan or the demon. It was like very like glamour, but I don't even know, bedazzled, like had like shiny stuff all over its face. But yeah, I enjoyed it.
See, I think that if I had not seen Rosemary's Baby first, I probably would have enjoyed it a little more. I
Mhm.
felt for being a prequel, it was a little bit so beat by beat that it felt almost like a sequel or slash remake at times than it
Mhm.
did a prequel.
Yes.
Um, but I will tell you this, that ending shocked the shit out of me.
Mhm.
Like when we got to that final act, I'm not going to say it for people that haven't seen it because it is such a fresh movie. But
Mhm.
when we get to that final act and you see what happens in that apartment, at the window, that
Yeah.
to me was just like, holy shit. So they did shock me in a way. I mean, you kind of knew that it was coming because I've never seen her before. But at the same time, to see how it played out was still exceptionally, exceptionally well done.
Mhm. Yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
another thing, we did just get the prequel, but I always like to ask people, would you, because remakes, requels, it's all the rage, obviously. They love to do it. Do you
Mhm.
think that Rosemary's Baby is the type of film that they could attempt a remake at today, or do you think this is one that should kind of stay preserved in the vault?
Um, I think Rosemary's Baby is a perfect film. And that's not really something that I say about every film, but I love it so much, I can't even count how many times I've seen it. I know the entire script, like, in my head, like, I know it. I can recite every single line while the movie's playing, but, um, being me and being selfish for more Rosemary's Baby lore, I just want, if it was done correctly, and if it was executed correctly, and if it was from a director that had love in his heart, or her heart, from the original, for the original film, in the same way that someone like, um the guy, what is his name, the guy that made Evil Dead 2013, he clearly had love in his heart,
Oh,
for
or no, was it Fede? Fede Alvarez.
Perez. Yes, he
Yeah.
clearly had love in his heart for the original Evil Dead, like, series, and he cultivated it with so much care that I think if someone loved Rosemary's Baby enough and the director cared enough about the source material, that yes, they could remake it. I would like to see it if they ever could do that.
I believe, didn't they have like a made for TV remake? Did
Yes.
did you see that one? I very, very vividly, or not, I very, very vaguely
Mhm.
remember seeing it.
With
I'm
Zoe
trying to look
Saldana.
here because I believe didn't they have a made for TV remake? Yeah, 2014 miniseries that is remake. Yeah, because Zoe Saldana was in it. So I
Mhm,
don't remember it. Like I know that me and Ashley watched it, but
mhm.
I don't remember anything about it at all.
Wasn't good. It
Okay.
wasn't it wasn't good. They showed the baby. First
No
thing
reason
first,
to.
don't show the baby. And then I think in the 1970s, they had a made-for-TV movie called Look What Happened to Rosemary's Baby. I've never seen that, but I know that it exists. One day I will watch it, but I just have not heard anyone talk about it.
Yeah, this is my first time. Look What's Happened to Rosemary's Baby was 1976
Mhm.
American television horror film.
Yes.
Wow. So it's this is an actual sequel that follows the baby afterwards.
Yes.
Wow. That's awesome. I'm gonna have to look into this because I've never baby Adrian is now all grown up and separated from his mother, wrestling with the occult influences that plague him and trying to outrun Satan himself.
Mhm.
Wow. That just
Yeah.
got screenshotted because I'm going to
Mhm.
look deep into that because I've never even heard of that. I did not know that existed. That's why I'm glad that you know the lore of the film so well
Mhm.
because, now I learned something today
Mhm.
about this film that I never knew.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. I mean, I've never seen it, but I know that it exists because I'm obsessed with the film. But yeah.
Right. Well, it's just like the Omen 3. You have Damien all grown up and going out on his own. Like it's kind of an interesting idea, an interesting topic to go on. Like what happens to Adrian after all these years? I'm
Right.
gonna have to check it didn't get very good reviews. It's a 3.3 out of 10 on IMDb and 11% on Rotten Tomatoes, but
Yeah.
I've seen great movies get terrible reviews, so I'm definitely open to try. So, we know that horror for you, Adam. I almost said Adrian. Oh my God, I'm going to put you into the Rosemary's Baby lore now. We know that horror started for you with Rosemary's Baby, but here for a second, I do want to throw a little bit of a curveball at you. My little buddy Ghostface is here, and he has a question for you.
Okay.
What's your favorite scary movie, Adam? What is your favorite horror movie of all time?
God, Rosemary's Baby. Like it's such a cop out answer, but if I had to choose other than Rosemary's Baby, Possession. Possession, 1981 with Isabella
Okay.
Johnny. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would definitely be second after that, or Repulsion by the same
Okay.
director as Rosemary's Baby, Voldemort.
Yeah. Well, and what I love about that too is like you talk about Rosemary's Baby, and then you talk about Possession. Like obviously these are both very, very supernatural type movies. So for you to really stick with that genre, we're just talking about the your favorite movie of this year. So like
Mm.
that. Do you think that your love of the possession slash supernatural genre? Do you think that would be there today if it wasn't Rosemary's Baby that you watched first?
Mm.
Because I feel like our first horror movie, like we kind of grab it. Like my first horror movie was House from 1985, and I
Mhm.
love horror comedies. Like I love like that's my bread and butter. So I really feel like our first horror movie kind of points us in that direction that we're gonna follow in the future for what we love as horror fans.
Yes and no. I think, the film definitely influenced my love of the supernatural, but I feel like I've always had a love for the supernatural just in general. I've always, um my little sister, for as long as I can remember, has said she's seen ghosts. Like, for as
Yeah.
long as I can remember, she said she's seen ghosts. She's seen angels. Whatever. She says she's seen them. So I think it all comes from just my pure interest in the supernatural, and I am more. I guess I'm more interested in a horror film if it's not just a guy going around stabbing people.
Sure.
When it is like something that is so far out of our realm of understanding, something that we cannot see or even grasp like what this is, I feel like that's so much more compelling to me than someone just getting chopped up. Not that I don't love those films. I do love
Sure.
some. I do love like a lot of slashers, all the time. But yeah,
But I agree with you. Like I said, there's so much out there in the horror world, and I think that's why horror is so special, because you don't have to have, like, horror is not just one genre. There's so many different subgenres of horror, and you
yes,
can have someone that's a hardcore slasher fan that gets
mhm,
totally spooked by possession movies and won't watch them at all, and vice versa.
yes,
You can have people that love possession movies that get totally and in all ways freaked out by home invasion movies, so they don't
yes,
travel down to that subgenre. And
mhm,
I think that's why we're so passionate as horror fans,
mhm,
because there's so many. You're never going to watch every horror movie. It's not going to happen.
mhm,
So the ability to go out and pick the subgenres that you gravitate to and follow those subgenres into what you love the most, I think that's so awesome.
mhm,
And like to hear how passionately you talk about Rosemary's Baby, um, that to me is so rad,
mhm,
because it's an older movie. You're a younger guy. I don't really want to put your age out there, but you have this older movie and it still hit you so hard when you
mhm,
were young that you
yes,
went down this rabbit hole of prequels, remakes, sequels that they exist, even though I'm sure that thing is hard as hell to find. um so to have that type of love for a movie, it's special. Like it's almost like a part of your family at times when you
mhm,
love a movie so much.
yeah. Yeah, that's the way I feel about The Substance now. Like, I am just like I have not been obsessed with a film. I saw it like 6 times in theaters. Like, I'm just championing that film until Demi Moore gets the Oscar. Like, I'm pretty much
They I mean, I feel like Wicked's gonna get it, unfortunately, but to
mm,
me, like, she deserves that so bad. Like, her performance in that movie was so, transformative in what she was able to do. And, she's just so special. And seeing her,
mm,
come back to horror the way that she did and, like, just embrace this role and
oh,
become
so
this
yeah.
role, uh, the best part of, because again, I've made it known I was not a huge fan of The Substance. I'm not saying anything negative about the film.
Mhm,
Um, it's just not my style of horror.
mm,
But the performances of this
mhm,
film are worth the price of admission right there. I'm not even talking about how great the practical effects and the body horror is, because they
mm,
are. I think
yes.
everything about this film is so well done, and it's one of those movies that I think is like a it's like an amazing movie. It just
Yes.
wasn't made for me,
And
like.
that's absolutely fine.
Right, and I think that that's what we get lost on these days, because I'm not sitting here like, "Oh, this movie sucks." Like, there's no
Mhm,
movie that really is like that bad unless it's The Exorcist too. But like, when I hear people get so pissy about a movie, I'm like, dude,
mhm,
I'm sorry that it wasn't my taste. Like, I really am. I don't want to watch a movie for 2 hours and not have fun.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I I think it would have been impossible for it to live up to the hype that it was built in my brain,
mhm,
because when I first heard about this movie, and obviously I heard about how great the acting was and how great the characters were, and I'm like, yeah, I can't wait to watch this movie. And I don't want to go leave the theater like, oh, I wasted 2 hours, you
mhm,
know. But to watch the performances and to feel her heartbreak when he's in the bathroom and he's
yeah,
on the phone,
mhm,
like that fucking, like, as a dude that's getting older, like that shit hurt. Like, I'm like, damn, man. And like just that juxtaposition of them fighting against each other, the old and the young, the
mhm,
beautiful and the ugly, which to me is nowhere near ugly. In the movie, that's how it's played,
yes,
that
yes,
yin and yang. And we've all felt that type of way.
mhm,
And the lengths that she goes building the stuff in the bathroom. I'm trying to be as vague as possible in case there are like three people out there that haven't seen this movie yet. um there's so many things in this movie that you're actively rooting for each side, you know and there's
mhm.
times where you're like, why are you doing that? But at the same time, you're like, I kind of get it. Like, I kind of understand.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I have to say, like, the practical effects amazing. Everything about the kind of art house. Like it appeared to be like a fairy tale to me. Like the cinematography, the tone of everything in the film, like the colors, which are so important to me, which
Hmm.
is why I love Rosemary's Baby again. The colors. Demi Moore's performance was so transcendent and huge, and the stark nudity that she had to do, like it's like nudity that I have not seen in any film except um I Spit on Your Grave 1978.
Yeah.
Like it's
Well,
nudity.
her and Margaret Qualley.
Mhm,
You know,
yeah.
both of them, like the nudity, because like again, like I'm not trying to interrupt you, but like as an older person now with daughters, like
Mhm,
I don't go into movies looking for new, you know, and I'm
right.
watching, I'm like, oh man, I'm really glad because our 12-year-old was going to go see it with us.
Ooh.
And I had a buddy of mine that was like, check it out first, bro. So I was like, all
Mm,
right. And I'm sitting there watching. I'm like, I'm really fucking glad my 12-year-old's not here watching this movie with me.
yes.
Great. And again, amazing. I feel like this, like I also felt for I saw the TV Glow last year. And the way that I always say it is, this is the best movie ever made that I don't like.
Mhm,
I'm not going to talk about, you know, the film quality is great. Like you were talking about the colors, the practical effects, the acting, the story. It's just great, but it just doesn't hit the spot for me.
I saw the TV Glow, a great movie, not made for me.
Thank you. Like
Not
again,
made
like
for me
I
at
felt the
all.
pain in that movie as someone that's, you know, I've never been, you know, trans. I've all, you know, I know who I am. I love who I am. I have family members that are. I have friends that are, and I've had a friend that's made the full transition. And
Mhm,
to see, I don't mind saying his name because he would be comfortable with it. But to see Shane look on the outside like we've always seen him,
mhm,
you know, and for him to be on the outside, like like to bring his insides to the outside and see Shane now as the
mhm,
man that I know him as, like there, that's the most poetic, beautiful thing in the world. But as somebody like again, I saw the TV Glow, what it wasn't made for me, and I respect that.
mhm.
Shane watched this movie. Shane cried his fucking eyes out throughout the whole movie because that's who this was made for, you know.
Yes,
And that was this is his, you know, movie. Like this movie belongs to you, and I'm
absolutely.
so glad it means so much to you. It just I don't I don't I don't like it. I'm sorry, like
Yeah.
yeah, but and I know I said this at the beginning, guys, but I do have Adam's social media links down in the description, and especially on Twitter. I can't recommend you follow him enough because he's a great follow. He's very informative, and he's just a fun and easy person to talk to. I had like a 45-second conversation with him, and I was like, I got to bring him on and talk and pick his brain and figure out how horror started for him. So, you know, thank you for spending the time with me and you know becoming one with the podcast. It really means a lot to have you on here. But before I let you go, we always go back to the same question.
Mhm,
We're going to go back to Rosemary's Baby. And what we're going to do is rank this movie on a skull count. Now, Adam, we're not ranking this movie on acting, production, score, direction, nothing like that. We're not being critics. All we're doing is ranking this movie on how much it affected you on your first viewing. So, zero skulls being not effective,
mhm.
five being extremely effective. You can use half and quarter skulls anywhere in the middle. Adam, what would your ranking of Rosemary's Baby be?
5 skulls. Out of 5. I
I mean,
really
I knew what it was, but my script tells me I got to ask, and I'll fire myself if I don't follow the script. So you know, I
yeah,
got to make sure I'm doing things right.
I couldn't even say 4. Like, it would just be
Right.
offensive.
It's and I love that because again, there's movies you watch that are a five-star movie. They affect you that way. Is it a perfect movie? No, but that's what it means to you.
Yes.
So again, please don't go anywhere, Adam. I do got a couple more questions for you. Everybody else, if you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe. It does help build the channel more than you know. And follow Sledgehammer Horror on social media. Our links are in the description as well. But until next time, keep talking horror, stay what you are, and we'll see you guys soon.